Hey guys, it's been quite a while since my last top 3 of each faction list, and a couple of new heroes have come out, namely Yig and Watchman. And so I decided to redo this video because the order has shaken up a little bit. Also, a few heroes did get updated, so things have changed a lot in some of the factions. So let's get started. Okay, so let's start with Alliance. Now, Alliance is going to be the only one with this caveat, and I will get into that when I get to that third ranking. But first, obviously, Valkyrie stays number 1. She has high damage, she has high utility because her skill reduces their attack. Also, she's got good healing. With people at full endgame teams, she has been found to have a secondary role, which is support. So you can either build her with full damage, with an attack or a Deathbreak rune along with Ragnarok or Gospel Song, or you can build her with speed in order to just fire her skill as fast as possible and enable you to survive their burst so that you can kill them with your burst, which is usually a Kurt or a Themis, and those are like the core damage heroes. Second place is going to be Vivienne. She did get buffed recently. Her skill added 20 defense. She added tons of healing on her regular attacks, and her skill, I think, adds even more healing. So overall, her healing just turns out to be huge. In terms of priority making her, she's not going to turn a terrible team into a really good one. She's going to turn a good team into an even better one. So she's not someone that you will prioritize making if you don't already have great heroes on the team. If you want an alliance and you've already got Skuld and Themis or Kurt or something like that and you want some extra heroes, she fits very well into that slot. However, she is completely killed by Azathoth, so keep that in mind. If you have a lot of Azathoths on your server, you're not going to see a bunch of huge benefits from her outside of like Honor, where you can use her against someone else. Third place is a tough one. So for ease of use, Mulan is third. If you don't have Kurt, Themis, if you don't have a really good strong team, Mulan is easier to use, and her mage silence is surprisingly useful. Her damage is not bad, and her dodge is, while not ultra reliable, is nice to have. So she turned out to be pretty good. Her buff made her dodge much better. It added her silence to mages. She's currently bugged right now, where her skill is only supposed to hit 4 people and has a 50% chance to silence mages. At T4, this is 100%. But she's bugged in where if she hits 4 people, she will silence all mages on the team regardless of if they are in the 4 or not. So it makes her a little bit stronger right now, but it's not something that you can rely on in the future because at some point that will get patched. If you do have Kurt and Themis, if you already have a high-end burst team, then you can use Watchman. His whole thing is he gives an emergency shield to someone that's about to die. His skill shields the whole team for 25% of his current HP, which is very low. So he wants to be paired with Skuld or something to heal him before he fires his skill. And then when he does put his emergency shield on someone, it gives them 90% skill damage. So if you manage to get this shield onto your Kurt or Themis, they will do a ton more damage. Is he good in all teams? Absolutely not. If you've got like a basic Unity team of old, with just like Freya and Aegina as your damage dealers, he's really just not going to do that great for you. So as good as he is to have, he's very, very difficult to use. One thing that needs to be said is that now that teams are changing up so much, there is no longer one best setup for all heroes, and so they can all do such different things for different people. An honorable mention can be made for Ultima. However, I decided that Ultima is just too complicated to use to be generally recommended. If you don't know what you're doing with Ultima, you're better off not using her. It's as easy as that. She is very specific in how she works. She gives the backline 50 speed, and she can be used as a sacrifice tank to make your team stronger. But if you don't have your team set up right, you basically completely waste a spot on your team with her. So next we're going to move into Horde. Now Phoenix stays number 1. He's absolutely amazing from 6 stars all the way to T4. Very, very useful in any team. Literally any team you put him on from 6 stars all the way up to T4, he will have a positive benefit. Like Watchman, he has so many different uses that you can build him a bunch of different ways. As tank, you can throw a bone grip on him. As a damage dealer, you can throw a blood metal on him, or if you already have energy on the rest of your team and you want them to fire just a little bit stronger, you can put an energy on Phoenix. He has very many different setups depending on how you use him. Number 2 is going to be Kurt. Kurt is, in a word, broken. He's so strong that it's impossible to give him up. If you want to be competitive in top-end PvP at all, Kurt is a must. Absolutely is a must. One of the reasons for that is because of this. This skill damage resistance while he's in the front is so much damage reduction that having him and not having him is a world of difference. The goal is to have everybody fire before him, and therefore his skill just gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and he often can one-shot people if he's built right. So general build for him is gonna be to give him a Ragnarok if possible. Otherwise, you can always put a Gaia Bolga or a Blood Metal. A lot of people like to say to put energy on him, but unless you know exactly what you're doing, unless you can guarantee for sure that your entire team fires before him, it's a waste of effort to put energy on Kurt. Absolutely is not useful at all. Let me cut that out. Part of why he's so hard to use is because he's very susceptible to crowd control, and therefore you pretty much always want to pair him with Skuld in order to help protect him and ensure that he fires. He is one of those heroes that you build your entire team around. He's probably the only hero that has that kind of priority. Third place is going to be the new hero, Yig. He may be better than we think, but we haven't seen enough of him. He's got something called Taunt, which basically means that the enemy, if they are taunted, even if their skill is to hit 6 people normally, it will only hit Yig. 5/6 of the damage will just be thrown away to the wind, and it will only hit him. Additionally, he blocks most of it, which means he only actually takes 60% of the damage up front, and the other 40% is given on the next 2 turns. He actually blocks 60% of it into 3 rounds, but the first 20% is done on the first round as well. He also has this, where he has 25% skill damage reduction, and he also has this. When he fires his skill, he's got 30% damage reduction. But he has really high damage reduce, paired with skill damage reduction, paired with damage deflection, so he's very hard to kill, similar to Azathoth. And this taunt at T4, it hits the backline, and for every person that it hits on the backline, it has another 30 or 50% to hit someone on the front line, meaning even the front line's not safe from his taunt. This taunt also cannot be blocked by Heaven and Hell T3 bubble, and it cannot be cleansed by Skuld. So Yig is proving to be a very, very disruptive hero for all damage in the backline. Every time he taunts someone in the back, which is a 50% chance, he has another 33% chance to taunt someone in the front. So nobody in the front is truly safe from his taunt. So he's hard to kill. He ruins damage from the back. He has a potential to ruin damage in the front, and he deflects all of the damage done to him. Really, the only counter to him is someone who does HP percentage damage, so like Bale, Zexanoth, something like that. So right now, he is very, very hard to fight. Now, as far as setup for him, if you build him for full speed, he is a little bit squishier than you want him to be. He dies a little bit faster than you expect. So T1 can be HP. His rune can either be speed or HP. You kind of have to play with it and see what setup makes him work best on your team. Do remember that he comes with energy, so he doesn't need an energy artifact, meaning you can throw a bone grip on him and make him even harder to kill. Yig is definitely worth getting. I did recommend everybody pull keys for him when he first came out. One weakness he has is he's not good as your first T4. but if you've already got a couple, then he's going to be great as support for them. So next we're going to go into Elf. Now Elf changed a little bit because Vegvisir recently got buffed. I'll get into that when I get to him. Lorelei still number 1. If you've looked at my tier list, I recently upgraded her to S+. She reduces the enemy's speed, she reduces their skill damage, she increases your defense to poison and burn and bleed, and she comes with energy, she heals when she gets low on life. So really she's a jack of all trades. If you build her for full attack with a Ragnarok and stuff like that, she has potential to really do a lot of damage. But if you've already got big damage on your team, then similar to Valkyrie, she can play a support role where you pump her full of speed and have her slow them down as soon as possible so that you can drop their damage and ensure the rest of your team fires first. The one weakness she has is that she does have a paid skin that adds speed. This is the best skin in the game because it is the only one that comes with speed. Unfortunately, it is very expensive. It's red skin shards, but everybody is given 1 free red skin if they buy 5 yellow ones, if you have not finished that achievement already. The reason that you need that skin is because without it, she cannot outspeed Freya. If you have it and you make her full speed, she becomes faster than Freya. Therefore, you can slow their Freya down, drop her damage, and make her not as much of a threat to you as she can be. Next is going to be Vegvisir. Vegvisir recently got updated. The big thing is when he freezes people, he drops their defense by 15. And also when he freezes people, you can't see it here, but when he freezes people at T4, he drops their crit defense by 35%, meaning that when you hit someone with a crit, you do an extra 35% damage to them. He really can enable your team to do a lot more damage. If he gets 100% crit, he caps at a 48% chance to freeze. He really is best if you've already got a solid damage team. However, if you don't have that much damage, he may underperform for you. Third place is going to be Dro. It's sad how far she's fallen. Her healing is pretty good. Her damage is so-so. She's not terrible, but because the meta has moved forward into high burst damage at this time, she's not as good as she could be. Her one saving grace, and the only reason that you may potentially keep her and eventually build her, is this. When she hits less than 50% HP, she silences all enemies for 1 round. This can truly be a disruptor on their team if it lands right before their Kurt fires. It's just good enough that there may sometime be a chance where this becomes important. So she's not really trash level, but she's not really useful on a late game field. Her best setup is generally for speed, but now that we know that she can't really silence all clerics, it's not so bad to just build her for attack and kind of let her do her thing. Next, we're going to move on to Undead. Now, Undead is sadly right now the weakest faction. These 3 heroes, as good as they may be, they're all out of the meta. So we're going to start with Aegina. Now, she is amazing because of her damage. If she fires once, she lands a whole poison bleed on every single enemy. She has high chance to silence. She comes with a bubble to protect her from crowd control 1 time. She also has a thing where if she hits 50%, she silences the whole team, just like Dro. So she is still very strong, but unfortunately, that alone doesn't keep her in the meta. It's just not enough. She's still very squishy, she has low HP, she's very slow. She won't really hold up against high-end teams. However, she is a queen in Den Planet Trial because you're retrying until you do well anyway. So if you keep retrying, you will find times where Aegina does like 10 million, 15 million damage, and it's ridiculous, and sometimes she can be the reason you win. But she's not going to do well in PvP. Second place is going to be Detlaf. This is actually a tough one to rank. Detlaf has gotten a little bit more popular lately because he's way more useful versus the boss of Void Cage, but he's not super useful in PvP or PvE Den Planet Trial. He's not reliably useful in either of those modes anymore. A word of warning, he's very bad before T4. So he's great as one of your early T4s before people get all their revive heroes. So as good as he is to have, you may want to be careful in focusing hard on him for late game. Third place I'm going to give to Ripper. This is kind of a tough one to rank because Ripper he's okay. He's one of those that's really strong as a first T4, but in a full team he's really bad, similar to Reaper. But Ripper has proven that in a 1v1 versus like Detlaf or even Verthandi, he really can hold his own. He even beats Detlaf 1v1 100% of the time. The only reason that he's lower is because when you've got a full team of T4s, Ripper is just bad. He's squishy and it's just not going to do enough for you. He did recently get updated, so his skill hits the entire backline, not just 2 people. He has very high dodge, so he actually becomes harder to hit, similar to Mulan, and he does quite a bit of extra poison damage. So he has a very good place in early teams, and he's actually pretty strong, even from 6 stars up to 10 stars. Next, I'm going to go into Heaven. Now, Heaven and Hell don't change too much. The heroes are still as strong as they've always been, and there haven't been new ones yet. Skuld, as always, number 1. It's going to take a lot for anyone to dethrone Skuld because she's just the ultimate. She is just the best support hero in the game at this time. Her skill gives crit rate, it gives defense, it heals, she's got a revive, she clears crowd control effects, she just does everything. The only weakness that she has is that if you don't have a full team of T4s, then she may waste her revive on someone weaker. So if you've only got like 1 T4, and then you make Skuld as your second one, she's definitely going to waste her revive on one of the other 4 heroes. So you do kind of want to make her a little bit later, but other than that, she fits in all teams. Absolutely every single team, she's absolutely required. And one other bonus, now I will admit personal bias, this really is one of the prettiest skins in the game. So she's got a good skin, as expensive as it is. But back to regular Skuld, she's just amazing. That's it. She's probably the most useful hero in the game, period, at this time. Second place is Themis. Themis is like Kurt. She's a really super high damage dealer. She's just a lot harder to use than Kurt. When she fires her skill, she gains one of 3 effects randomly, completely random. One is crit chance, one is speed, one is defense. However, if she dies and revives, she gets all 3 at once. So in order to guarantee that she gets this crit chance, you ideally would like her to die before she fires. That way she'll get the crit chance guaranteed. But it's not that easy to ensure that she dies and is still able to fire, because if she dies, you might be doing bad enough that the rest of your team will be dead before Themis ever gets a chance to do anything. So she's very hard to fine-tune. She doesn't fit in all scenarios, but when she goes off, she really can do a massive amount of damage. Some people can use her as a tank. You may put her in the back because of her bubble. Her revive actually does not get blocked by Azathoth. She's got a lot of pluses, but tough to use and maximize her damage. Third place is going to be Verthandi. Pretty much kind of by default. She's the easiest to use of the remaining Heaven and Hell, or just Heaven, sorry. Her tanking is amazing. She has a 50% chance to reflect a lot of damage back, 320% of attack. So if she's tanking, her damage is amazing. Her skill increases your team's true damage and also their troll resist. So she actually comes with great synergy and just a little bit of healing. Her healing is not amazing. She is not as good if she's not tanking because her damage output will be severely limited. Again, most of her damage comes from this reflect. She can be used as a buffer for your team, but there are just better options. She's really good as a first T4, so she holds her own very well against a lot of different heroes, 1v1, because of that reflect. So she is definitely a priority to build early on, because of how easy she is to get. Last but not least, I'm going to move into Hell. Number 1, I'm going to give to Bale. He just is very good in pretty much all situations, especially at T4. At T4, he adds HP % damage to his skill, which I talked about before. That one is not reduced by any sort of damage reduction or anything else, so he has the potential to do a lot of extra damage. He is an incredible snowball hero because if anyone dies, he gains energy and speed. Unlike Detlef, he requires their HP to hit 0, meaning that if he hits a Skuld or something and they revive, he still gets the energy and the speed. So he truly has the highest ability to snowball and just cast over and over and over and keep doing massive damage. So he is still one of the best damage dealers in the game. Second place is going to be Azathoth. Azathoth was someone we weren't really sure about when he came out. He has proven to be pretty amazing. His thing is, first of all, he's got an exile. So when the battle starts, he banishes someone in the back line for 2 rounds. They cannot be targeted, so they don't gain energy or buffs or anything. However, it's blocked by T3 Heaven and Hell bubbles, so it can be stopped. He also has something called Executioner's Call, which hits the front line. At T4, this skill doesn't miss, and it has a 60% chance to land, meaning it's a pretty high chance someone on the front is going to get it. And what it does is all healing that hero receives is actually dealt as damage instead. So if they've got Skuld, Vivienne, Dro, whatever they've got healing their team, he blocks it completely. He makes all their healing extra damage. This skill also, because of how it works with them making it so they can't be healed, this blocks Monkey King, Phoenix, Mars' revive, and so if their Skuld has already used their revive, and this lands on Monkey King, Phoenix, Mars, and they die, they do not revive. So he really can be a difference maker in Den and Planet Trial, where they've got a Monkey King tank. He really can ruin teams that are relying on Monkey King's revive or Phoenix tank, and if they've got a Vivienne, he can really make them kill themselves very quickly. He's also got this, which is every ally that's alive gives him 10% damage reduce. So this is a hero that really wants to have a full team of T4s that can stay alive around him, because if you've got 3 T4s and the other 3 people just die, his damage reduce is only 20%, and therefore he dies pretty fast. So if he can stay alive with the whole team, he will be one of the last people to die, pretty much always. The counter to him, just like Yig, is someone like Bale, who does HP % damage and completely bypasses this damage reduce. So he's definitely a great hero to have. If you missed out on pulling him when he was new, you're probably regretting it a little bit because he's proven to be so good, but he's not, now that he's in Diamond Keys, he may not be as hard to get as before. Third place, I'm just going to give to Freya. She is still the undisputed queen of PvE. If you're stuck on a Den or a Planet Trial stage, you basically just retry hundreds of times until she does all the work. She's not reliable because her petrify rate is only 36%. But when she petrifies 4 people or something like that, you just watch her damage just go through the roof. So as good as she is, she's not reliable enough for everybody to focus on. That being said, she's still strong. She's still easy to get. One question I do get is, how about having 2 Freyas? And you're rolling the dice by having her. So you're rolling more dice by having 2 of them. But trying to rely on that is just never a good idea. So 1 Freya, and you pretty much everybody should keep a Freya for PvE and having fun in PvP as well. So that is my whole ranking of top 3 heroes of each faction. Some changes, some stayed the same. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that it's a good summary of priority of who to focus on in each faction. Because a lot of this is based on opinion, it may not be entirely the same for everybody else. For some people, some heroes will perform better than others depending on how their team is set up. But you can take this as a general ranking in terms of ease of use and overall power just by having them. So I hope this helped, and see you guys next time.